So your pet is very sick or badly injured and needs immediate medical care. Can you afford to save its life? So let's talk about veterinary care. If you have a dog, consider heartworm prevention. Heartworm prevention compared to heartworm treatment is relatively inexpensive. Heartworm treatment is not only expensive, but pretty hard on the dog too. If you want to know more about heartworm, ask your vet, they'll tell you all about it. One of the most common types of veterinary prevention that we see is flea prevention. There are a number of different advertised ways to prevent flea outbreaks, but if you ask any veterinarian, the best prevention are the topical spot-on preventions, usually applied once a month. These are considered to be the safest and most effective treatments. They're generally only available by way of prescription from your veterinarian. The vet clinic we consulted quoted us about $30 for a 1-month supply of Revolution, or about $135 for a 6-month supply. Not a bad deal. But of course there are flea products all over the place, not just from your veterinarian. The problem is, sometimes it's true that you get what you pay for. As an officer, a lot of the calls we respond to involving missing fur or redness on the skin and the back end and behind the legs is the result of a flea problem that has gone unchecked. And oftentimes we find some of these cheap products in the house and the owner can't figure out why the animal has fleas. Well, that's probably why the product is not as effective as other products on the market. So the takeaway is, don't cheap out. Disaster or illness can befall even the most cautious and diligent pet owners. Nobody is immune from this. Vet care can be expensive. It can range from hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars depending on what needs to be done and where you go. Again, as officers, we sometimes find ourselves with owners who are desperate and want to do the best they can for their animal. They just can't afford the treatment that they need. Sometimes the only option left for them is to have the animal put to sleep. It's one of the more difficult aspects of our job. The law says you have to provide medical care to your animal, and lack of money is not an excuse, and this has actually been affirmed in case law decisions. So courts have actually ruled that I can't afford it is not an excuse for not providing medical care to your animal. So there are companies that specifically work to insure pets. As with any insurance, the premiums will vary depending on the level of coverage you have. If you do go the insurance route, it's important to understand what your policy covers so that you're not surprised when you get to an emergency clinic and you find out what's wrong isn't going to be covered or only a very small part of it is. So bottom line, do your homework if you're going to go with insurance. The second option is to self-insure. If you can afford to do this, put a little bit away every week into a separate account and don't touch it. That's the animal emergency account. The benefit to this is if you never use the money, you still have it. Regarding veterinary services, payments usually due up front. You may from time to time find a vet hospital that will work with someone on a payment plan, but I haven't found many, and I would assume the reason for this is a lot of vet hospitals have probably been burned in the past with people who said they would pay and then they just didn't. Know the location and contact information of your local veterinary emergency clinics. Know where they are, what their hours are if they're not 24 hours. Adopting an animal is a great thing to do, but it's important to remember that it's a potentially 15-year commitment. There's a chance that something could happen in that 15 years. Responsibility for that animal starts and ends with the owner. And a big part of that responsibility is being able to answer the question we posed at the start of this video. Think about it. Thanks for watching Night Call. If you like what you see, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, and we will see you next time.